It's here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into this episode of the Highline Podcast. I'm Jason. He's, of course, William. And the NASCAR Playoffs, that's what's here. We're with you guys every week, but now the excitement, the enthusiasm, and the pressure is all turned up. Just one more notch as, again, the NASCAR Playoffs start this week. We'll, of course, look back first at that Coke Zero 400 at Daytona and see how we got to this point of entering the NASCAR Playoffs. And then let's preview that Cookout Southern 500 at the Darlington Raceway coming up Sunday night and give you our picks to a chance to win $10,000 over on the NBC Sports Predictor. William, what's up, man? How's it going?
Oh, it's going good, man. NASCAR turning the page, going into the playoffs for the Cup Series after a chaotic Daytona where we saw the 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. just missing out. Yeah. Folks, remember 1 week ago, Jason said Blaney was going to get in, and I said Truex. I was wrong. And it was a big surprise there. We saw the 3-car of Austin Dillon getting the win at Daytona. Very shocking. Very, very shocking. But does he really deserve a playoff spot? I say no. Truex really deserves it.
Well, there's always those people who think you shouldn't win your way in, but if you get a win and you're in the top 30 at points, I think you do got to reward the guys for winning. Obviously, Truex certainly has the more consistency, just obviously where he sits in points. He's been there throughout the course of the season. I don't have a big problem with winning you're in, whether that's, this past week at Daytona or if Austin Dillon picked up a win, let's say back in the month of June, and then he did the rest of what he's generally done throughout the season. It doesn't bother me.
I'll say this. Because, remember, Truex and Blaney were close on points.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people want to put it to the side that Blaney was actually second and Truex was fourth. But when Chastain wrecked out Sunday, Truex went to third. So Truex is third place in points. And he's not racing for a championship. And I find a lot of things wrong with that. And NASCAR has to do some homework this offseason to make sure the top 10 in points are solidified in the playoffs. Because I don't like how this went down at Daytona because the weather, for one, that messed up a lot of things. It took out a lot of big-name drivers, and it caused an upset winner. And Truex didn't like that, obviously. And NASCAR's got to do a better job officiating. That wreck was uncalled for, which led to an upset victory. A lot of people don't like it, including myself, and I'm sure you can talk more about it too. Very chaotic.
I think all you got to do is look at which race is the cutoff race before the playoffs. They want that drama. They want the unknown. They want anybody can win a super speedway, and they want you watching that race to see if an unknown can snatch his way into the playoffs. And obviously that's what Austin Dillon did. I agree with you. Obviously there was a lot of rain. It felt like Talladega, last year where guys were pushing there. They didn't know if the race was going to be called early like it was, and Bubba Wallace got hit rain shortened win. It kind of had that feel to it. The intrigue of the rain made it exciting. Obviously super speedway racings are going to be, exciting in their own nature. I liked it, and I don't think it's going anywhere. NASCAR, I think they like that, right? There's a reason why we're at a super speedway for this cutoff race.
I'll tell you what, though, they nailed it on the spot. Putting Daytona as its regular season finale is what all a fan can ask for. Entertainment and a lot of pressure on the drivers. Yeah. There's not a single lap out there at Daytona this past weekend where you saw a driver just coasting around, burning time. They were all going full throttle. Oh, my gosh, can't get it right. But one instance, I remember Chase Briscoe, I believe it was, the first really big one, really, where he was so darn loose. And instead of lifting, he knew it was coming to an end. He just kept on going, and he was so darn loose, he actually got turned by the 48 car of Bowman, and that caused that big wreck, which took out a lot of big drivers. And Truex was also involved in that wreck also, after he was involved with that one of Chastain prior. Just crazy how things went down. Too much aggression. I like that.
Yeah, I like that indeed. I want to give credit to Kurt Busch. We sat here last week and we were talking about when maybe would Kurt Busch maybe withdraw his medical waiver and thought maybe he would wait for after. There was certainly that thought process that maybe he would wait till after Daytona. I want to give credit to Kurt Busch of doing it ahead of time. So therefore the field knows what really Daytona means, right? They know Kurt Busch. Maybe he comes back, but he's not going to come back as a playoff driver, even though he's obviously in the playoffs per se, won't be competing for a championship. I want to give a little bit of credit to Kurt Busch for coming out ahead of time and setting the field and letting everybody know what was on the table. So kudos to the 45 team. Kudos to Kurt Busch. I thought that was a nice move, and hopefully he comes back. I'm nervous. I'm concerned, and I do think his career, is unfortunately over. Hey, you mentioned the craziness at Daytona. Did you see the one sports bettor that placed a bet on FanDuel, do you know what I'm talking about? This guy placed a
Yes.
4-leg. It was like $13 or $12 for what? How many slappies were in it? David Reagan, Landon Castle, Cody Ware, and BJ McLeod. A 4-leg parlay for all 4 of those guys to finish in the top 10. Dude bet like $12 or $13 and won $1 million. Won $1 million. How unreal is that? Now, obviously, he was helped by some big wrecks, and the big one right there where people think NASCAR should have thrown the flag there because of the rain and what have you. That was clearly coming. Spotters were talking about it. Drivers were talking about the amount of rain. NASCAR was going to get that in, and you saw it through, what was it, a 3-hour delay? I didn't see the end of the race. I wasn't hanging around for 3 hours, but NASCAR wanted to get that race in. That's why they tried to push it as long as they could.
They had no other choice, because if it would have ended like that, people would have questioned the significance and how really big did Austin Dillon really deserve it? Was it a Mickey Mouse win? Did he just back his way into it? NASCAR had no other option but to resume it, whether that was at night or they had to go into the later hours into the following morning. They were committed to getting that race in, because if they didn't, they would have lost a lot of fans for the following weekend, because that did not go over too well. And one other thing I want to talk about before we go on to Darlington is that we saw some big wrecks this past weekend. Mm-hmm. Chris Buescher, Denny Hamlin, Daniel Hemrick, Justin Haley, Chase Briscoe, and many other drivers. And we saw Kurt Busch back in Pocono. They all said the same exact thing. The hits were hard. And as a race fan, it's kind of hard to understand where they're coming from. But enough is enough. And NASCAR has to take a look into how to make these cars just a tad bit safer, because more and more drivers are starting to complain about it, and that's not a good thing. They got to get things sorted out. And I believe that could be the end of Kurt Busch just because of that concussion. They got to get things going.
Well, they got to fix that, right? These drivers are their assets, so to speak, and they can't have their drivers getting hurt and either knocking out for multiple months within a season, or even for a Kurt Busch, maybe it ends his career. So, yeah, safety is the utmost priority, and they certainly got to get that figured out. Anything else you want to talk about at Daytona this past weekend?
I say this,
okay.
Austin Dillon won the race at Daytona, and it's for all the Kyle Busch fans out there wanting to keep what he's going to do next year. But Austin Dillon won Daytona, right? The pusher was Tyler Reddick, his teammate. Oh, Paul, Richard Childress, didn't really give Tyler Reddick any credit for the win.
I know.
So that makes you believe that their relationship is still bad. Like it really is. Paul, Richard Childress, was not around at the Indianapolis Road Course when Tyler Reddick won. He was there in attendance, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't speaking highly of Reddick. He was still mad at him. And after the race, Jordan Bianchi, I think it was, of the Athletic Press, asked Richard Childress about Kyle Busch, and he said, you said it. He was saying about how they put all the things in the past back, and they're on good terms. He never said no to it. So Kyle Busch possibly to the 8 next year, I don't know. Daytona was a big telling point, and I can believe it's almost a done deal, in my opinion.
Yeah, Rich Childress didn't do anything to squash that narrative or those rumors, whatever you want to call it. I think that's a live rumor. Reddick's out of a ride possibly next year, and Kyle Busch moves over to the 8, and they pony up and they pay him all the millions of dollars that he needs every season to race for whatever team he races for. Yeah, I think that's a real rumor. That one's got some legs to it.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch wants to go to a competitive team. RCR this year as a team has 3 wins.
Yep.
And the Xfinity side of things, they have 2 wins. So you can never count them out. And they also want to make a comeback in trucks. Kyle Busch owns a truck team, so it's pretty much a slam dunk for Richard Childress.
I absolutely believe it. All right, so we turn the page now and start to look at Darlington, race number 1 here in the playoffs.
Let's go to Darlington. It's going to be very chaotic under the lights. Tempers will flare.
Under the lights of the Cookout Southern 500, Darlington Raceway, the Lady in Black, Too Tough to Tame, Earn Your Stripes, whatever, all the little nicknames that you want to go ahead and call it. I cannot wait. You guys remember this race last year. You guys remember the video game move that Kyle Larson did, just gas it all the way into the corner, hit the wall, slide, and hope you can catch Denny Hamlin. Damn, it almost worked. That's what we get. We're getting playoff racing. Guys going to leave it all out on the track. I cannot wait. Let's talk about these 16 drivers here for a second. Let's just get everybody up to speed. You got Elliott, Logano, Chastain, Larson, Byron, Hamlin, Blaney, Reddick, Harvick, Bell, Kyle Busch, and Briscoe. That is in the order. And then the 4 guys below the cutoff are Suarez, Cindric, Bowman, and Austin Dillon. I'm going to ask you a little bit later who you think are the 4 drivers that get eliminated after Bristol, after we get through 3 tracks, and Bristol being the 3rd one. But first, let's obviously focus on Darlington here. A unique track. Tire wear is super important here. The track itself raises different between the 2 turns with the pond over there. Absolutely love this track. Logano was really strong back here in May. He was the race winner. What are some of the things you're looking forward to this weekend, Sunday night?
I am looking at that the Chevys of Hendrick Motorsports are going to be very competitive. And I believe you can never count them out. Kyle Larson, I believe, is going to be the favorite heading into this weekend. Excuse me. But yes, Kyle Larson, he's going to be the driver to beat. Logano won the race in the spring. You can never count him out.
Strong.
You look at Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, when it comes to having a track that a driver is successful at, you can never think of a better combination than Darlington and Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin's always good here. You can never count him out. Those are the top 3 drivers, in my opinion, to look at. Larson, Logano, and Hamlin.
Okay, you've certainly touched on 3 of the guys I had written down in my notes. What about Ross Chastain? Finished in the first 2 stages, 2nd and 1st, before he was involved in that accident that spun him into the inside wall. He was strong. Finished 3rd in the fall race in 2021. He was in top 10 in both of those stages, so I think Ross Chastain will certainly be a name you need to watch. What about Tyler Reddick? He runs the high line really stinking good, and you better be a good high line driver if you want to win at Darlington. So I like Reddick. What about Martin Truex Jr.? And I meant to look up before this show started, last season, did a non-playoff driver win a playoff race?
Bubba Wallace.
Did it?
Bubba Wallace.
Oh, the rain short one? Oh, yeah, okay. Anyways.
Because Kyle Larson pretty much won them all.
That's right. Yeah, well, Martin Truex Jr. has got to be a name you got to watch if you're talking about non-playoff drivers. Dominated this race here in the spring of 2021. Absolutely dominated. I like him. Top 5 in both stages. I think Martin Truex. But you're right. Larson, Hamlin, I think Logano were the 3. But I would put Chastain right on up there. I like it.
Yeah, Chastain is a good driver at Darlington. A lot of people forget about this. Last year when they came here in the fall, he was actually in contention for the win. I thought he was going to win it in stage number 3, and we had a couple of cautions take it away from him, and it gave Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson a little bit better track position. Chastain faded away at the end, but so darn close last year. Mm-hmm. And another driver you got to look at, obviously, is Kevin Harvick. He's always good here at Darlington. You can never count him out. He's on a hot streak lately. Besides Daytona, I like his odds. And then Chase Briscoe, my driver, my man. He won at Darlington in the Xfinity Series. The track and then the win that pretty much solidified his spot in the Cup. Because he did not just beat no part-time Xfinity driver. He beat Kyle Busch. And if he can beat him, I believe he can beat anybody. So you can never count him out at all. Was very quick in the spring. So I look at Chase Briscoe to be as a contender this weekend at Darlington.
What? You're looking at Chase Briscoe to be a contender? I don't think the viewing audience had that coming. Nice. No, but you're right. I mean, it's not just a homer pick, folks. There's reasons why you like Briscoe, and I think they're all accurate reasons. All right, what about all right, let's just get to who's going to be cut off. Let's see if we can agree. I'll get off my 4. You see if you agree. You agree with Dillon? He's out after Bristol?
He's out.
Cindric is out. He's got no road course. In my mind, he's got no road course in these first 3. Cindric's is out, right?
No.
What? You think he's in?
I think he stays in.
Okay, well, I'll just give out my 4 then. I've got Dillon, Cindric, Bowman. This last one's tough. I'm going to say Byron. I'm going Byron. Who do you got as the first 4 out?
I got Dillon, Bowman, Byron, and Suarez.
Oh, so we agreed on 3 of the 4. So you have Suarez instead of Cindric. Otherwise we agree. Okay, cool. Yeah, Dillon, he's lucked his way in.
I'll say this, though. Austin Dillon, I will believe, will be the closest driver out of these 4 to make it into the next round. A lot of people underestimate how good these next 3 tracks are for Richard Toyota Racing, and Austin Dillon to be exact. Good at Darlington, nearly won it a couple years ago, and Bristol is always good there. Kansas has to do good there to point his way in. So it all depends on Kansas, in my opinion, for Austin Dillon making it to the next round.
Okay, I think it's a touch hard to predict maybe a champion just because I think momentum matters so much and things can change, obviously, when the pressure turns up. Do you want to throw out a prediction for who's actually going to be the champion when it's all said and done after these 10 races?
I'll say my final four. I'll say my final
Okay.
four
All right.
because it kind of leads into the championship. I believe that we will see some controversy in the playoffs, and I believe we will see some beef going around. And I believe Chase Elliott will be a part of it, and that will cause him not to make the final four.
Wow.
But my final four will be Kyle Larson,
Yeah, I got him.
Denny Hamlin,
I got
Chase
him.
Briscoe, and Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick wins it all.
Okay. Wow, I don't have those four. I've got Hamlin. I agree. I've got Larson. I've got Chastain, and I do have Harvick as the four. I've been putting Chastain in there. I think it's gonna be Chastain or Hamlin. Something tells me Chastain or Hamlin's going to get it done. I loved how Hamlin popped up in the playoffs at the end of last season, starting it right here at Darlington by getting a victory in this race. I also like Hamlin. I like Chastain too. Something tells me.
Who won at Phoenix back in March?
What was that guy's name? Was it the 14? Was it the 14?
Yes, but he raced for Stewart Haas Racing.
He ain't
for
done.
Stewart Haas Racing, and that's what believes me to think that Harvick is going to win the championship.
He ain't done jack diddly. Briscoe ain't done much. He's really dropped
No, I'm talking
off
about Harvick though.
Yeah, Harvick's.
I'm talking about Harvick though. Harvick is going to be good at Phoenix. That's his best track, and it's pretty much a slam dunk if he can make it there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Harvick's going to be there. He's heating up at the right time, and it's getting hot, and this is what you want. He's definitely getting hot at the right time. So, okay, all right, cool. Anything else, or should we jump into our picks?
Let's jump into the picks. It's going to be very interesting this weekend.
All right, cool. Let's do that. Let's jump on into the NBC Sports Predictor app where you can win $10,000. They ask you 3 stages. You got to pick the driver to finish best amongst the stage, and then you also got to give them a top 3. I've also, though, been giving away $25 each and every single week. Let's see who the winner was last week. It was 2 guys, AOJ and the Doc Gizmo. You 2 guys hit me up on Twitter. Drop me your PayPal information and send me hit me on Twitter, drop me your PayPal, send you the $25. If you need to join this league, if you want to win $25 this week at the Darlington Raceway at this Cookout Southern 500, in this video description is where you can find that league information. Join it, compete. We all start with 0 points. All right, let's get into it. There's your stages and there's mine. Let's run through it.
All right. Winning stage number 1 in this group will be Kyle Busch. It's a slam dunk. There's no other driver in that first group that can even come close to beating him. So Kyle Busch easily.
I thought straight too. He does have 2 straight DNFs at Darlington, but those are obviously because of the accidents. If he avoids the accident, I'm with you. This was relatively straightforward. Maybe you got to look at practice and qualifying, but I don't really think so. We know the playoff drivers are all going to start 1 through 16. They're all going to be right there. And Kyle Busch is better than Cindric, Dillon, and Suarez. So I'm with you. I will go ahead and take it. Suarez, I think, can maybe threaten him, but I'm going Kyle Busch. Obviously, I thought it was easy. Stage 2 was between Blaney, Byron, Harvick, and Larson. It was another easy decision for me. I went with Larson. It was really easy. 4th best average finish in the last 4 races. He's got 3 of those in the top 5. Easy.
Yeah, Kyle Larson, the safe person to go with in this round. Ryan Blaney, I am not too sold on him. He has yet to go to victory lane this season in a points-paying race. He won the All-Star race, don't get me wrong. But I don't believe he's a true championship contender. You got to win in order to be considered as one. And, I don't like Blaney this weekend in Darlington, but I do like Kyle Larson. So Kyle Larson all day long.
Yeah, I agree right there. All right, between stage 3, we had to pick between Chastain, Elliott, Hamlin, and Logano. This is where we differ, so that's fun. I took Chastain. Just been good all year, regardless of the track. Great season. He's one of the favorites, I think, in my mind, to win the championship. Obviously, this is a tough group. You're picking between Chastain, Elliott, Hamlin, Logano, guys that we think will be in contention to take the checkered flag. I'm going Chastain, though. I'm going Chastain. He's going to be up there.
I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin's always good here at Darlington, has numerous wins here. And I don't think he's going to win Sunday, but he will win this last group and get me 10, 15 points here. So hopefully we can gain a lot of points this weekend in the point standings in the fantasy group. But, yeah, Denny Hamlin's a smart guy to go with here. He may not win the group, but he'll at least get second. A lot of people forget that on the NBC Predictor app, stage 1 and 2 and 3, not only does the first place guy in the group win, but whoever comes in second will get 5 points. Those 5 points add up after a while. So I think Denny Hamlin can be the guy to go with here.
All right, to win that $10,000, we got to correctly nail the top 3 as well. So let's do that. Let's go. Who you got? Okay, we both got Harvick and we both got Larson. Our only pick is Briscoe. I got Chastain winning it. I'm riding Chastain. Love Trackhouse Racing. Love that one team all season long. Larson's been great here, and you're right about Harvick picking up momentum at the right time. I got Harvick. Harvick, you know what? His last 3 finishes at Darlington, 4th, 5th, and 6th. He's going to be up in the front in some capacity, so I'll slot him in at P3. Looks like you went Larson, Harvick, and Briscoe. You got Larson winning, eh?
Yeah, I got Kyle Larson winning. I believe this will be his 3rd win of the season easily. I don't think no one's going to really have the speed as he will, and Kyle Larson will win. 2nd place will be Kevin Harvick, and I believe this will pretty much solidify him a spot in the round of 12 if this is a great run for him and it grabs a lot of stage points. And so Kevin Harvick in 2nd place. 3rd place would be Chase Briscoe. Kind of a long shot here. But just speaking off the stats and the pass at the track of Darlington with Briscoe, it pretty much leads me to think that's pretty much a lock at this point. So Larson, Harvick, and Briscoe.
All right, love it right there. Normally we would give you guys our picks for the Fox Bet Super 6 app, but that app doesn't have their questions up, so we will not be doing that. Make sure you just follow us on Twitter, and we can go ahead and get our picks there on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. I got 7 out of 14 right last week, so not that great from me, but also not that bad on a really tough app. I think that app's pretty unfair. So, all right, this is going to be great, folks. Again, last season it ended with Kyle Larson doing the video game move and flooring it through turn 4 and just hoping and damn near almost caught Hamlin. This is what you get, guys. This playoffs, excitement, pressure, intensity. Oh, yeah, can't wait for it. Cannot wait for it, William.
Hey, before we round out this video, we're full of predicting here.
Yeah.
All right. The last handful of years, we've always had some type of beef go on in the playoffs. Who are 2 drivers you think can tangle with each other? Like last year we had Harvick and Elliott.
Yeah. Well, you got to, if you're talking about beef, you got to talk Chastain, right? I mean, he's done pissed off every driver, it seems like, this season, generally speaking. A guy like let's say once a guy's been knocked out of the round of 16 and they didn't make the round of 12, you don't think that guy's not going to be hunting some payback on Chastain? Like, Chastain has to be a guy, if you're picking him, you got to be nervous somebody's going to end his day one day. You'd have to be nervous if you're backing Chastain.
That's my point. Chastain is not going to make the Final Four because of that. It was kind of taking me a while to build it up, but Chastain, that's the exact reason why he's not making it far, in my opinion. Has too much beef with other drivers, so there we go.
That beef last year, was it Bristol or Martinsville with that Harvick Elliott? It was
at Bristol, and then it carried over to the Roval.
Yeah, but at Bristol alone, where he held him up, and then Elliott pits, and then he comes right back out on. I mean, that was just drama. They were going after each other. That was good stuff.
I tell you what, though, he should have had mess with Harvick. Harvick ain't a guy to mess with now.
Yeah,
he does all that MMA training and stuff like that. Elliott didn't want none.
Okay. Hey, before we end this, I do not watch Xfinity, but Brian wants to know, is anybody taking Clement's spot in the playoffs since he was booted? I didn't think he was booted. I just think he got bad penalties, but I think he's still in the playoffs, right? He just got crushed. All right, so
I was looking. Yes, I was looking into it before we got on air, and Jeremy Clements was given an L2 penalty. And what that means is that he's losing a lot of points, and so this is what happened here. He won Daytona. Mm-hmm. He passed inspection. But the Daytona car is not the reason why he got this penalty. He got this penalty because of another car he had broken down prior to this race, and he got a penalty for it. And the team, Jeremy Clements Racing, is planning on appealing this. And if they become successful here, he'll get into the playoffs. But if they don't, they still got to win at Daytona, because they're not giving the win to Timmy Hill from what I've known and looked at in the rule book. So Jeremy Clements will keep the win regardless of the outcome, but it's all depending right now on a playoff spot. Something similar happened back in the year of 2017 with Logano, where he won at Richmond, and the win was still given to him, but the playoff spot wasn't. And that pretty much ended up costing him a playoff spot at the end when it was all said and done, because he missed out. But we will know a little bit more by the end of next week for Jeremy Clements, because NASCAR is wanting to get this done pretty quick, because Xfinity starts playoffs in 3 weeks' time, and they will hate for this to carry all the way over. So expect a quick announcement.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, Xfinity is not something I follow. So, all right, cool. Wanted to make sure Brian got his answer. All right, Brian, there you go, man. All right, we'll come back next week. And let's see. We're at Kansas. Kansas next week, right?
Kansas Speedway.
Kansas. Okay. I thought it was because it's Darlington, Kansas, Bristol. That's right. Darlington, Kansas. All right, cool. All right, that's what we'll do. We'll, of course, recap what happened Sunday night under the lights at Darlington, and then we'll look forward to seeing what happens at Kansas. All right, guys. Enjoy the race this weekend. We'll see you guys a little bit later on. Have a good one.